All right. Good day. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Live the Fuel show. So, again, for the newer listeners out there, our tagline for the show, we're here to fuel your health, business, and lifestyle. And yes, as an entrepreneur, I'm a geek about business. And then as a guy who lives many different types of lifestyles and a self proclaimed adrenaline junkie, I love the lifestyle component. But more often than not, I prefer to geek out about health. Healthy awareness, healthy education, healthy lifestyles, health that triggers into your business. So today, I'm bringing on, yes, a new guest co-host, and he might know a little bit about health. And I don't like to prescribe the show per se. Fun on prescribe the word. We're going to get into some details around maybe supplementation. This guy knows a little bit about that. We might even hit a little bit about bones and skeletal structure because I love strength training and building denser bones. As I'm only about 2 years away from turning 50, and I believe in healthy aging. But I've had past clients on the show. Shout out to my boy Vinny Tortorich. He's had supplement. He's had his own vitamin company. He's done his own thing in the coffee world and the no sugar, no grains world. But I love experts who come on and choose to build a business or a brand around maybe a little frustration, maybe a little bit of a passion at the same time about getting the truth out there. And that's what I want to hit on today. So if you guys have ever been frustrated about trying to understand the labels on your food, let alone than trying to spend hard-earned money on your supplements and where to go, what to do. I'm a geek about functional medicine. I'm a geek about not putting things in your body if you don't need it. So long story short, we're going to geek out about this. Okay. So author of Fracture Proof Your Bones, a gentleman who likes to deliver health in the truthful way. Dr. John Neustadt, sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to have fun. I can tell already.
I have a feeling, we kind of geeked out just for a little bit about, you figured out that I used to be a wildland firefighter back in the day and my hotshot life. And obviously I turned a lot of that into really actually this platform was the first platform I launched from that experience, firefighting and risking your life and just allowing fire to transform me. That's why literally I have half my back, by the way, is a Phoenix tattoo, whether you
Wow.
like tattoos or not, but I had it done in
Mm.
Flagstaff after just that. That's how much impact firefighting did to me after being a corporate monkey who was a farmer kid turned corporate monkey and then hating that and then being a hot shot and seeing the beauty of our West, the Western United States of America, your home state, California. And it just transformed me. That was
Sounds
before.
like you and I have maybe a little bit of a similar overlapping ethos in the sense that we're
Okay.
not satisfied if we're not happy. And
No.
I had multiple careers. I was a journalist for a while in Chile
You
and San
played
Francisco.
in journalism?
Yeah, I was a
Oof.
journalist after college in Chile and then San Francisco, and wanted to go back to school because I wanted to do environmental writing,
Mm.
and I didn't have a science background. I wanted to understand the primary source of the data so wouldn't be manipulated, wouldn't be able to be as easily manipulated by my sources, and I could actually access the data. So I went back and I did a whole nother undergraduate degree at the University of Washington and got a BS in botany where I did all my pre-med and focused on molecular and cellular biology of plants. I just really wanted to understand things. And then when I went through it, though, I didn't want the life of a journalist anymore. So I ended up just falling into technical and marketing writing for software companies, did that for a few years.
It pays the
And
bill better. I mean,
it was great. I had some nice golden handcuffs and I was absolutely depressed and miserable. I
oh, so
hated,
so you didn't like the corporate life either. Okay, great.
did not like it. No, 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 no. And so I started to get sick, and that chronic stress made me sick. And I went to a medical doctor who, like a lot of people, was on an insurance roster. I had no idea who this guy was. I was in my 20s. I never needed a doctor
Mhm.
before, and I walked in the room with his prescription pad in his hand, and without even knowing me yet,
I've noticed that, by the way, as well. Yeah. Why
five
is that
minutes
already there? Yeah.
Yeah, 5 minutes later, he's like, "Here's I'm going to write you a prescription." And I had questions. I wanted to understand what was happening to my body so I could do something. And he was visibly impatient with any of my questions, and he just wanted to move on. And he even said, "No, you just got to live with it. Here's a prescription." And I didn't like that answer,
He bought into the assembly line because that's what he is. I
and
mean,
that's what he was
I have
taught.
friends that are doctors.
Yeah.
There's my neighbor's a doctor. I mean, her husband, may rest in peace, he just passed away of a glioblastoma, was also a doctor. So we have some neighborly bonds. And I'm like, luckily she's still private and he was private. Most practices are being gobbled up by obviously all the hospital networks. At least that's how it's done here in Allentown, Pennsylvania. I don't know.
It's all over the country. It's all over the
Yeah.
country.
And then you're
But
given that 10-minute threshold. How are
Yeah.
you supposed to diagnose, let alone try and help people understand what's happening to their condition, let alone it goes right to boom, rubber stamp pharmaceutical.
Yeah. You can't. It's not part of their financial model. It's not part of their medical legal model that they work under. But I didn't like that. I mean, medicine is a service industry, and I didn't like the service I got. So I'd heard of this integrative medical school down the road, naturopathic medical school called Bastyr. They had a teaching clinic.
Oh, okay.
And I said, all
Fascinating.
right, well, I got nothing to lose. Let me go see what these folks have to say. And I made an appointment and had an amazing experience. The chief medical officer was the attending clinician and two students. They took 45 minutes with me, answered all my questions patiently, got to know me, was teaching me what I could do, not just prescribe a medication through integrative approaches. And the doctor got to know me so well, but just the end of that appointment, he looked at me and he said, "You need to quit your job." He'd learned from his questions that that actually was the underlying cause of what was going on with me. I was that chronic stress of doing what I was miserable at was literally making me sick. I left that industry the next week and started enrolling in medical school and
Well,
never looked
people,
back.
let's pause on that. People underestimate the biological, even cellular impacts of cortisol.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
that's just one element of stress is cortisol. Something is a hot shot. Like I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I was just excited to leave the corporate world and do something crazy and dangerous. And anybody who knew me, like, I had just finished going back to school myself. On nicest weekends while working my corporate gig, banged out another BS in marketing and psychology because I ended up geeking out about science, trying to find understanding life. I'm a geek. I just dive into things.
Very
And
similar
then I'm like, all right, I'm
personality.
going to dive in. And like I said, if I'm going to be a firefighter, I went from no firefighting background to being on an elite hotshot crew. I was so thankful. But I didn't understand, like, holy crap, that led to rookie year over 1,800 hours in 6 months. That's what they do. You pack your labor
Wow.
into one summer. Well, then I did the math, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. A 9 to 5 career job with 2 weeks of paid vacation is 2,000 hours a year in a standard year. I just did basically that in a summer. And then my second year, we hit 1,900, which is, and there's a timeout period. The government times you out so they don't have to pay you as a full-time employee because we were seasonal. That's another whole thing that a lot of people don't know is behind the scenes in the wildland firefighting world is prevents you from having pensions and everything else. So,
Oh, that's too
uh,
bad.
yeah, more reason to not do it the rest of your life. So I respect the men and women who continue to take the risks in that crazy career choice I only did for a couple of years. But cortisol, I was like,
Yeah.
I just couldn't understand why, after being such an athletic job, I'm hiking with, 50 pounds of gear, 30-pound chainsaw, 16 hours a day, all summer long. And then after my rookie year, I was like, oh, I want to go backpack Ireland. My name is Scott William Mulvaney. It's like, I did the blood research. I'm like, I want to go to Ireland. And people are like, you're going to go hike more? I was like, well, it's a backpacking trip. I don't know. I mean, have some fun. And I couldn't even go to the gym before that trip. I was like, I'm just going to wait and go exercise in Ireland. And I didn't have my normal drive because I was basically burnt. Like we would
Yeah.
call August, the nickname in the wildland firefighting world is Dirty August because we started in April. So we timed out by the end of September. So that second to the last month, your patience is shot. You want to kill half of your coworkers. Like I mean, not literally, but just
Yeah.
you're just burnt and you're like, oh, I got one more month after this, man. Just got to get through, bro.
Yeah. And chronic stress is absolutely devastating to your health. I mean, even the research has been done with cortisol levels in normal, quote unquote, healthy people, and just the high end of normal, meaning that they were not pathological, they didn't have any disease. They were losing bone faster
Mm.
than the people whose cortisol levels were lower. And cortisol also changes the gut microbiome. It causes when it's elevated, when it's high, especially a lot of the research is with medications like prednisone, which is basically cortisol on steroids itself,
Mm-hmm.
and high doses, but even low doses of short term create osteoporosis and increase fracture risk. But they destroy muscle microfibrils, and it decreases your body's ability to produce collagen. And the stress also makes the collagen that is there more fragile. So it's just this recipe for this systemic breakdown throughout your body of the connective tissue, and then not to mention the gut health and it's drag on your energy and damage to mitochondria. It's just
Oh yeah,
horrible.
I was more aware of just initially the psychological impacts, right? Shortness of patience, stuff like that. You're feeling burnt. Then you start realizing, well, why don't I have the energy to work out? But then also maybe that was a good thing. My body's probably talking to me because
Yeah.
I wasn't as
It's telling you need a break.
yeah, I wasn't as knowledgeable as I am today. Like that's your body, like literally saying, please rest, recover, heal. And I think that was what triggered me to leave the corporate space because I was doing, 60, 70-hour weeks was normal, like because we were salary and people are like, oh, well, you don't get paid for that. I'm like, no, I'm a salaried, not executive, but, middle to upper management back in the day in the telecom space and the IT space. And I thought, oh, I'm chasing the salary. I'm chasing the income. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, I'm working more and I'm not happy. And you don't realize that I didn't know what a circadian rhythm was back then and sleep cycles and all the things. I was just, mid to late 20s, just thankful that a farm kid figured out a way to get into that world. I was just like,
Yeah.
I'll just suck it up, buttercup.
Yeah, you get this wind up phenomenon that happens when people have this cortisol overdrive that they're experiencing. And typically there's a diurnal variation, circadian rhythm of cortisol where it peaks in the morning, 8,
Mm.
9 in the morning, it increases and then peaks and then it drops off at night so that you can sleep because as you mentioned, sort of the agitation when cortisol is high, and you see this with as a side effect of the cortisone like medications like prednisone, agitation is a side effect and insomnia is a side effect. And so
Mm.
that cortisol diurnal variation can be flipped where normally cortisol spikes in the morning and some people it can reverse where it's actually increasing at night. And you can get this wired but tired kind of experience where you've been under such stress that when you finally go to lay down to go to sleep, you're exhausted, your body's exhausted, but you can't fall asleep.
So I think I must have accidentally, I haven't thought about this until right now. And I've brought up this point before, but never, it just clicked because I'm talking to you. Well, when I started working my way up in that corporate space, I was always been a health and fitness nut in my free time. After I tore my shoulder a couple times and had shoulder surgery, then found the gym, and then I'm a cyclist, so mountain biking and road cycling. So I was teaching spinning classes at 6 o'clock in the morning. And people couldn't figure out, well, I'd come to work and I'm managing 40, 50 person teams and I'm ready. I'm just ripping the lid off. Dude, I don't even need coffee because I was already up teaching a class from 6 to 7, motivating people on an hour-long sprint in a spinning class, in a studio at a gym. And then I went and did the corporate gig, and I was like, I think that might have been a hack because yes, that's quote unquote stressful from an exercise, but I was probably dropping that stress trigger and help them push it off a little bit because I don't know. What are your thoughts on that one? That's interesting. It's just popping in my head right now. I'm like, because exercise is a great way to relieve stress.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think there's a fine line there. So with patients that I've worked with who are obviously chronically sick and been sick for a while, and maybe their immune system's compromised and they're getting these recurrent infections, or they've obviously been under a lot of stress. When you exercise, it can have two effects. Yes, can burn that off, but it can also jack up the adrenal glands even more and create even more stress on the adrenal glands and cause what's called, contribute to adrenal fatigue. So what I like to tell patients is if they're recovering from all this chronic stress, if they've got symptoms of adrenal fatigue and or we've tested it and it's shown it, I like to have them exercise just to the point where they are sweating and then
Mm-hmm.
just stop
Okay.
because it gets that cardiovascular benefits. It gets the heart rate up. It boosts the immune system, but it doesn't overstress the adrenal glands. And this is a short term while we're helping them build up their reserves again and get stronger and to heal that.
Yeah.
The other thing too is vitamin C. The highest concentration of vitamin C in the body is in the white blood cells for the immune system, but then also the adrenal glands.
Mm.
And so supplementing with vitamin C can also be very helpful just to support the adrenal glands. But sure, absolutely. Exercise can be both. It can be help you burn off that stress, but it can also be an additional stress on the body depending on how you do it.
Well, back to your point, also depending on how bad your stress load or the degradation from that, right? Like what is the condition right now of your tissue, your connective tissue, right? All of those things, like back to fracture proof, right? Like it's like how bad has it gotten? And so that's why like, and I've been a CrossFit trainer in my free time years ago and stuff like that. After fire, I found, quote, the brand CrossFit because my old squad boss in firefighting, he's like, we're doing 2-a-days for the next 2 weeks straight to see where you people are at. Make sure you're ready for the fire season. I'm like, what's a 2-a-day? What's CrossFit? And this is, back in 10. I mean, obviously, it's just a brand of quote unquote they call functional fitness. And I don't do it anymore. I built my own gym and I do my own form of training now because I've been around it for a while. And I let a buddy of mine give me programming, but that's also a thing where you can easily, you know, break yourself off depending on your baseline of health and fitness and conditioning. But back to your point on stress and how it could break things down, do you even realize that you've broken your body down in your stressful work career? And now you're trying to go into this fitness regime thinking that you're going to make yourself healthier and stronger. And you could be triggering further injury because your baseline really needs some healing and some recovery before you can trust that level of training. So
Yeah, and I experienced that. I mean, when I was totally deconditioned when I went back into medical school, and before that I was bike commuting to work. I was living in Seattle area, so I was rock
nice.
climbing.
Oh yeah.
I was doing mountaineering in the Cascades and rock climbing, and as I said, bike commuting. I was in sick shape,
Yeah,
and
I
then
used to go
I
out there, by
just
the way. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
uh,
One of my old gigs was I was an analyst for T-Mobile. So I used to, their headquarters was up there. So we used to
oh,
go
it's a
all the
beautiful
time.
area.
I'd stay the weekend, go hike Rainier. They're
Oh yeah, yeah. I
gorgeous.
climbed Rainier once. It was
Yeah.
gorgeous.
You guys
Yeah.
have what I learned what geocaching was out there. I'd go out and do geocache hunts and stuff. Like, what's a geocache? I mean, yeah, Washington's beautiful.
Oh,
So
it's an outdoor playground. It's amazing. When it's sunny, it's so gorgeous.
yeah, when it's sunny.
So that's right. Uh, so so what was I saying? I
Well, we're
was
talking
thinking.
about that when you were up there more, you were doing a lot of the biking and everything else, the
Oh yeah,
commuting
and
and
then I
stuff
got
like that.
deconditioned, and then I'm sitting on my butt at med school again, and in a classroom, and definitely got out of shape. And then when I started trying to get back into shape, I kept injuring myself.
Mm.
I really had to. I wasn't 20 years old anymore. And as we age, what our body needs and how we can approach it, needs to change as well. We need to adapt to it, and that's a big mistake I think people make, is they think that they're, in their brain they're still in their 20s, and when their body's in their 40s, and they try and get back in shape. And you've got to really, I think, approach it methodically and carefully, so you can make those incremental improvements to get back to being as strong as possible, without injuring yourself, which is just going to put you backwards. But back to the cortisol real quick, because I remembered as we were talking, and a really insidious effect of cortisol and that chronic stress. Research has shown it actually shrinks brain size.
Mm.
It decreases the volume of your brain.
Is that because of survival? Because like that's usually a side check. I mean, back to the psychological versus physical. And I remember studying this in school also. It was like your body is very intelligent and it'll try and quote save itself or preserve itself. So it starts shutting things down if it needs to. What's the old saying? Rob Peter to pay Paul. One of those old sayings
Yeah.
like, I only have so much energy utilization, right? It's like, all right, well, let me focus on this, but I got to give this a break so I can focus over here and keep this running at peak conditions, stuff like that. So I'm just wondering if that's part of that
I don't know.
equation.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bruce Ames was a brilliant biochemist. He passed away a few years ago. I think he was
Mm.
his late 80s. He created the Ames test for mutagenicity, which is a universal test to see if different substances create genetic mutations. And then he went on. I was at UC Berkeley, a brilliant biochemist and researcher, to create some amazing experiments. And he came up with what was called the triage theory. And that is where your body will actually shuttle nutrients around to different areas, depending on the need, the physiological need, and the availability of those nutrients. So what you're saying has been, also, shown in research that yeah, your body is going to try and preserve its more vital functions, and when there are scarce resources, it's going to take some of those resources away from areas that aren't as vital and send them elsewhere.
Well, it's like something as simple as, well, not simple, but I mean, frostbite, right? Like blood is rushing back to the core of your body to
Right.
keep you alive in a potential freezing situation. I'm a big
Great
mountain
example.
skier. So it's like, yeah, it's like all of a sudden your fingertips and your toes are freezing because you've probably been out skiing all day. And because I've been there and it's like, you're just having fun and you don't realize like, hopefully you layered properly and everything else. But I mean, my wife and I, we got married heli skiing in Banff, Canada. We're crazy. And it's just But you don't think about these things. And that's like, oh, through education and, if you ever mountaineering, I've done mountaineering and rock climbing and everything else. Like, yeah, the body is an amazing machine.
Oh yeah.
Some people call it a machine, some people don't, but the intelligence of it knowing like, hey, you're in a risky situation. I got to shut this down to keep this going. And you don't even know it's happening. It's just it says, no, I'm all about survival,
It is a
until
machine
you're
in the
so broken
sense.
that you can't survive. So,
Ray Dalio, who started Bridgeport Capital, one of the largest investment firms in the world. It's a fascinating story. He started from a kitchen table with nothing. He wrote a book called Principles, and it's a fascinating book. If you haven't read it, I really enjoyed it.
well, I'm going to make a note because I love show notes. So it's called Principles.
Principles, and he talks about essentially the body as a machine, and essentially it's you get inputs and you get outputs. And when you are giving the right inputs, whether it's in business or in your body, it is you get the results. So when the process is correct, you're going to get the right results. The challenge is to really define very clearly what it is you're testing and what assumptions that you're going to try and test and improve upon in terms of an outcome that you want, and then experiment to see what works, and then evaluate that and iterate over time to tweak it, and something that does work, build on that, and then something that doesn't, figure out why it didn't work and put it aside and try something different.
Makes perfect sense.
And I think that that's a great way to approach also problem solving our own health. And a lot of people are, I think, stuck in these patterns where they're just trying different things. They know they don't feel well, and they want to feel better, and they hear of a latest fad or the latest a diet or a latest dietary supplement or a latest exercise routine, and they dive headlong into it, and they end up not getting the results they want. Yeah. Either they're short-term results, and then they go right back to how they were feeling before, or they get injured, or they just don't get any results, and they don't stop to think, what system was I actually trying to create to get to where I want to go.
We can bond on this one real quick. I just make sure I don't lose my note. His last name was Dalio, right?
Dalio, yeah, Dalio.
Yeah. So actually, dude, first of all, genius dude, because he's so smart. When he wrote that book, he actually found the .com. He owns principles.com.
Yeah.
I was like,
he's brilliant.
Okay, you're a smart guy. Because like when you lock down a .com like that, somebody's on their game. Looks like he's got other books, obviously, too. So, and obviously, since we're shouting out books and authors, I got to make sure we got this right there. Fracture proof people, fracture proof your bones. We're going to get into this today again. So NBI, Nancy, Bravo, icehealth.com. And we'll have this in the show notes as well, because book to book, I love it. But yeah, so I've done that and actually I've interviewed enough scientists and doctors over the years now. I've learned the term, I'm sure you're familiar with it. I now just educate people. I'm like, listen, you can listen to me or not. You do you, right? I just treat myself like my own N1 experiment. And so if you've never spoken to a scientist, people don't know what that means. I've spoken to enough of them now. I'm like, yeah, that's me. I'm that guy. I'm like, I'm just going to experiment on myself. And if I get the results I need, and I order my own advanced blood work and everything else. You probably love me as like,
I would. That's great.
I was like, dude, the MD doesn't have a freaking clue. They've been reaching out to me for months. Like, you haven't been in for your annual checkup. I'm like, bro, the amount of money I spend on myself, I'm way beyond your annual checkup. I don't need you to tell me whatever you're going to do in the traditional hospital network. No offense. I tell people, in September, I crashed my mountain bike, collapsed the lung, broke a couple ribs. I was in and out in less than 24 hours. Even the nurse was like, oh, we're pulling the chest tube like tomorrow morning. She's like, I can't believe you're going to be in and out tomorrow. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm here to please. So like the nurse was confused. She's like, you've only been here 28 hours when I was released. I was like, yeah, I don't want to put a strain on the system. And she kind of laughed, and I was like, oh, I'm serious. I was like, I'm not the problem. I mean, yeah, if I crash a mountain bike because I'm a jackass and, break some ribs, and that's the problem. Trust me, I heard it from my wife. But no, like, but my health insurance keeps increasing every year. Great. I'm paying for everybody else's problems.
I pay an
As a
insane amount for
solopreneur,
health insurance.
as a
It's crazy.
solopreneur, I'm like, my insurance, I'm now, I never go to the doctor and I'm paying now $700 a month. I purposely am downgrading my plan because I'm like, I don't use it. Like, it's like where's the one where it pays for my monthly chiropractic that I pay out of pocket for, my regular monthly massages that I
I've
pay
yet to
for.
find it. Yeah.
I was like, I know I can't be the only guy.
Yeah. No, I would love that. We pay an insane amount. I've got
Oh,
one of my kids,
California, I don't even want to know. I mean,
one of my kids is still at home. One's in college, so he's got the college plan through the university. But for just the three of us, still, it's like $2,800 for Blue Shield, California.
and you're an educated, healthy
We barely
family.
ever, we don't even use it. I mean, we do chiropractic and dietary supplements, nutritional
Yeah.
medicine, and I order our own tests. And I
Yep.
mean, it's just ridiculous.
Well,
What we pay.
that's why I started falling down. And actually, I'll have to dig deeper in the ND world because you're an ND. But I've been telling people ever since I learned about functional medicine,
Yep.
which is your world. I was like, I need that local, whatever you want to call it. Is it an FMD? Because I've heard of FMD, and then there's ND. Why don't we just quickly clarify that? Because that's educational, helping people like
Yep.
me figure that out. Because again, no offense on MDs. I have a lot of friends who are MDs. If I cut myself, need some stitches, break something, need an organ scan, whatever, I get it. I'm going to go to my MD. I'm not saying they're not valuable, but everything else I'm doing, I'm researching FMDs and NDs and doing my own blood work. Luckily, my chiropractor can order blood work for me. So I'm like, cool, she's cool. So, yeah.
That's great.
Is it going ND route or is there this FMD route or where's your understanding on that?
So look, the naturopathic doctors, we're a very small profession within the United States as a whole. There are
Oh, yeah.
areas in the country where there are more of us, and they tend to be clustered around where the medical schools are. But in naturopathic doctors, we're trained in integrative medicine from the get-go, from the beginning.
Okay.
And where we are different from medical doctors, I think at one of the most fundamental levels is the philosophy. So we are taught a very structured philosophy of how to approach patients and medicine. Where the conventional doctor, if you ask them what the philosophy of medicine they were taught, they're probably going to say, well, first do no harm. But what does that really mean?
I think that's
And
gotten a little exaggerated over the years. So
so for us, that's one of our philosophical tenets we're taught. But they're also taught, doctor as teacher, teach
yes.
people how to take better care of themselves.
Thank you.
Treat the underlying cause. Prevention, meaning, yes, we want to prevent things now, but the best treatments are going to not only fix what's going on now, but also prevent things from, problems in the future. And there are a few other tenets of the philosophy, but the bottom line is that we can't do those things in just a 10-15 minute visit.
No.
We've got to be able to understand holistically. We're taught to think holistically, not in very structured, strict, protocol type medicine. And we're taught a therapeutic order, meaning that, look, if somebody needs a drug, absolutely prescribe a medication right away. We're taught pharmacology, and like I have a DEA number, and we're taught minor surgery, and all those things. But there are less forceful interventions that can actually correct the underlying cause instead of masking symptoms, that if people are willing to do the work. And I've told patients coming into me, if you just want me to prescribe a pill for you, you've come to the wrong place. You can go somewhere else, because that's
Well,
not
let's
how I
pause real
operate.
quick. Rewind 30 seconds. Your statement prior to that was if you're willing to do the work.
That's right.
I don't want to skip over that statement right there. I love those words because I'm that guy. I'm like, no, dude, you got to put in the work, bro, or girl, or whatever. I know that sounds kind of muscle heady, but I'm like, no, seriously, take accountability
That's right.
for your personal health.
You have
The
to.
doctors are here to help guide your mission, but you have to have accountability for your mission, which is you.
Well, but also, like you said, you're an N of one. I'm an N of one. Like,
Yeah.
it is your body. This is
Yeah.
your responsibility. It's not somebody else's responsibility to fix you. It's somebody else's responsibility, yes, to fix you if you have to go in for surgery, or you have a traumatic accident and you're in the ER. That's a different situation.
Mm-hmm.
But in areas of our chronic diseases, which are the biggest drain on our healthcare system and the biggest cause of dying early and ending up on 5-6 medications as you get older, and not being able to really enjoy what should be your quote unquote golden years of your life, because you're in pain and discomfort
I don't
and
think we can
can't
call
move.
them
And
golden years anymore. I don't even know I hate to be derogatory, but
yeah,
it's
I don't
like,
know what
what do
it
you
is.
call it? Like
Um,
my parents are that example. I just saw them this week. Mom's overweight, dad's overweight. She's walking with a
yeah,
walker. He became type 2 diabetic like 12 years ago. I told him, you triggered that. Like type 2 diabetes is reversible. I've
yep.
sent him all the experts I've talked to. I've sent them books. You can't, I get frustrated, but also I've educated people. I'm like, unless they're willing to take accountability,
Yep. Because
I can't change their path.
look, as we get older, genetics has less and less to do with our health, and it's environment and lifestyle,
Yeah.
diet, environment, and lifestyle that are the drivers of our health, not genetics as we get older.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause people
So,
use that. Oh, well, you have great genetics. I'm like, have you seen my family photo? Like,
yeah,
I love my family, but like, guys, I'm a perfect example of that. There is no genetic profiling here.
yeah,
Technically, they have my same genetics, so they can be looking and living the way I am. They're just not listening.
or they
So,
do the opposite, meaning you go to a doctor and maybe you've been to different doctors and you don't have this clear-cut diagnosis that fits a very strict and narrow definition of what they're looking at. So eventually a doctor just says, oh, it's just genetic. That's kind of the wastebasket diagnosis or statement. It's like basically saying we don't know what's going on and it's just genetic.
yeah.
And it's just bullshit. I mean, it's for the vast majority of
The
people.
escape answer. It's like, I'm out. It's genetic. I can't help you there. So hey, here's that pharmaceutical though.
You have no
I got you there.
responsibility.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
When really there are oftentimes underlying causes. You just need different testing, different approaches, whether it's, gut dysbiosis, mycotoxins, environmental toxins.
I've had many microtoxin experts on this show. Like people underestimate just something as simple as like mold in your home and everything else. Like it's like, guys, like everything is connected.
Yep.
You have to rewind and trace it back and find that trigger, or
Yep.
triggers. So yeah, that's why I love what you guys do because again, Eastern versus Western, right? There can be a balance of medicine. And that's why it drove me nuts. Once you go down this path, you start knowing too much. And I don't know everything, but I know enough to create a rumble, at least in myself anyway. And it makes me want to do that and one thing. And that's all I
Yeah.
want when people hear these shows. I like question it. Like everybody right now, everybody's like doing aliens or health this and political this. I'm like, no. Just focus on you. If each of us would just focus on our own bodies and brains for a little bit and just try and heal yourselves, the rest of the world will get better.
Be a lot better.
If
Yep.
we're all healthier and taking accountability for it, collectively, we will all get better. But people forget that. And I think
Yeah.
that some of us feel guilty about the term is getting selfish for a little while. And I was that guy. And I'm like, no, hold on. If I get a little selfish, fix my shit, ergo make it easier on society so they don't have to worry about Scott. Scott. Cool. Okay. Well, now, okay, let society work on the next one. So that's what I'm saying. If we all just stepped up a little bit and try to figure our stuff out, it gets better. That's how I look at it anyway.
Well, and also if you just want to, be like everybody else, what the research shows is you're going to die early and be miserable.
Yeah.
So that's a choice. You can
It
do
is a
that.
choice. It is a
That's a
choice.
choice.
The problem is I'm wired as a survivalist. Even my wife makes a joke because she's Cornell grad, UPenn grad, Dr. of Equine, Dr. of Cairo. She's just like, I watch a zombie movie or something weird. Like I don't watch a lot of TV, but I'm like, she'll come home and I'm just watching one of those things and I'm a survivalist. And I was like, if that ever happens, we're good to go. And she's like, just put me out of my misery. I want nothing to do with that. And I was like, babe, what are you doing? I was like, I got you. And she goes, that looks exhausting.
That's so funny.
I don't know if your wife is the same way or not. I'm like, okay, family is family. But there's that piece there of that's why I love the name of your book, by the way. We could tie this back in because we haven't hit really much on it. It was like
Yeah.
a fracture proof. Like I look at that in a bigger picture, not just understanding osteoporosis and our skeletal structure and the connective tissues that we hit on multiple times earlier in the show here, where we're breaking our own bodies down. We don't realize it and how it's all intertwined. But like now take that outward beyond the body, right? Having accountability for ourselves first, healed that, fixed that. Now each of us are more capable of also helping others or setting ourselves as an example for others. And then
Absolutely.
seeing that it's possible. People forget that. It's like sometimes you just got to zip your lip. It took me years to figure that out, other than the podcast world. But in my personal life, like I'm not here to tell you what to do. Here's what's working for me. Look into it. If you need some experts, I've talked to a lot of them. Here they are. like go read the book, go listen to the podcast, go listen to the audiobook, consider going to see an ND or a functional, whatever. Don't be afraid to go outside the quote status quo. Uh, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah, you're preaching to the choir. Yeah, absolutely. I think that the for me, when people take an honest look at their life and they understand that they are the only ones that's responsible for their actions, and stop blaming other people for their mental health, their physical health, whatever it is, and start taking personal responsibility. And the entire options spectrum of options that are available for you changes.
Yeah.
Suddenly there are opportunities that you didn't see 2 minutes ago, that suddenly this whole new horizon opens up. Because frankly, it could be just as simple as saying, you know what, right now in my household, there's a lot of stress. And I got kids, my wife and I, my husband and I, whatever partner, we're not getting along at the moment. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm not going to open that bag of potato chips and sit on the couch.
That's good.
Something as simple as that. Like they're
Yeah.
just when you decide that the status quo doesn't work for you anymore, suddenly there's a lot more opportunities out there for what you can do. And opportunities, I believe, also present itself. I really believe that there's the concept of manifesting things. And once you start to have an idea of what you want and a vision for what you want, people will come into your life and opportunities will come into your life to reach that goal.
I like what you're hitting on there, because it is literally that easy. I know it sounds too easy. Like, I'm going to just take a break and step away and go for a walk. Like I have like 3 acres of land around me here, and my woods touch all my neighbors' woods. And I noticed that everything was congested, and years of being a hotshot and then being a mountain biker and volunteering and doing trail work in my younger years. And I'm like, I'm going to build my own home trail. My wife was like, who's going to use it? I'm like, I am. So if I'm looking to do strength training, I'll throw the weight vest on, maybe throw some kettlebells in my hand, just go for a hike. I mean, or I'm just going for the walk with the dog to clear my head, because I don't want to be in front of, like, I have 3 monitors here and I have all this technology. I'm wearing my blue light blocking glasses right now. And I'm like, you got to unplug. And when you get out in nature, your brain's wired differently. Even if you don't want to think at all, you could just go for a hike and not think about anything. But more often than not, if you try not to, guess what happens? Thoughts start flowing and things are happening. Like, my brain works differently when I'm running, when I'm road biking, and when I'm mountain biking, and when I'm skiing, and when I'm hiking. So I have all different types of thought processes depending on the sport. So I love doing multiple sports because I get to think about different things in a completely different way. But it took me years to be aware of that and do that. So I just don't understand couch surfing. It
Yeah, I don't get it either.
doesn't make sense to me.
You made me think of 2 things. One is, in Japan, they actually prescribe forest bathing, grounding, go out into
Beautiful.
nature. It's prescribed.
Yeah.
The other thing is when you're in that stressful situation, back to cortisol, in a stressful position in your house, or you're just wound up, it changes the blood flow in your brain. Your prefrontal cortex, which is for, kind of decision making and being able to understand the results of your actions and to gauge which is going to be the best decision. It decreases the blood flow to that area, and it increases the blood flow to other areas of the brain where it's more fight or flight, where it's let's get out of here. And in fact, research has shown that when people are under stress, they cannot anticipate well how the negative consequences of their behaviors, because they just want to escape, and so they make worse decisions. So
it's like if getting into a fight with your spouse. Well, yeah, I bet it's hard to do that if you both decide to go outside quick and go for a walk and you're hiking. I mean, there's still a chance of disagreement, right? But like, what you're hitting on, I'm like, well, if I'm outside, I'm in Mother Nature. Now we have that helping ground us or align us, and you're not trapped in the house to make silly. I like that. I mean, I'm already triggering on that. So that's interesting. Or people make the excuse of, like, I'm all stressed out, I'm just going to pop a pill, which we do need to hit on, by the way. Also, real quick, because we did have a pre-show chat. Do you have a heart out? Because I mean, Again,
Yeah.
this was supposed to be top of the hour, but obviously I like to try and maximize the show if you're good for a while. So,
No, I'm great. Yep.
okay. But yeah, so the pop the pill answer, you kind of danced on it earlier. Everybody talks about it. And obviously, I know in the osteoporosis world, because my family has a little bit of that, and my father's side, and my mother-in-law has that, and um, I'm a big proponent of lifting weights to remind your body to still get to stay strong and build stronger bones, stuff like that. And years ago, I did a lot more supplementation. Then I lean out for a while. Then I'll test something new. Like, just to be straight with you, the only thing I'm doing right now is glutathione, because I had a full genetic analysis done and we confirmed the marker that says I would benefit from that because
You have a GST mutation.
yeah. So I was like, cool.
Yeah.
I'll try it out. So I've gone on and off on different forms of glutathione. Actually, I just had a guy on a while ago. I should be airing him soon. Very intelligent scientist who invented his own topical glutathione, built his own facility in California and everything else. Pretty smart dude, and he's got a lot of money to do it with. So anyway, he's like, hey, I'll ship you a box of samples and try it out.
What's his name?
I got to look it back up because it's been, I think I talked to him a month ago, but my point on that, I'll give you a second. It's Dr. Is it Nadell or not?
Nayan Patel.
Yeah. I'll be airing him soon.
I just interviewed him for my podcast yesterday.
Isn't he awesome?
Or the day before. He was amazing. Yeah,
dude, I was like, I had so much fun with him. And he's like, oh, let me send you some spray bottles. I'm like, absolutely. Because I told him I was taking it in pill form. Yeah. So I've had it in liquid form. I've had it in pill form. And he goes, none of that's going to work. And I'm like, why? He goes, that's why I did this. Like this, you talk about his own water purification facility and his own lab and everything else. I'm like, bro, who's paying for that?
He goes, super impressive.
He goes, well, luckily I have some money to spend. So, yeah, smart guy. I love the fact we both talked to him.
Technology too. Yeah.
So cool. So yeah, anyways, that's hilarious that you and I both talked to the same guy recently. So that's wonderful. So we're on the same page here. This is absolutely fun. So let's I don't want to miss this chance. Let's dive into the pill or pills, or let's just go with general supplementation, because really the same thing applies. So my neighbor, he retired, and a different neighbor, and he's always telling me, he's like, dude, I wish I had your energy. And I'm like, Joe, you're not even 60 yet, and I'm 48. So you're 56. We're actually not that far off in age. Age is only a number. It's how you live your life. I love to use that quote. I'm sure you'll have fun with that. And he's like, I know, but he's like, you're always running chainsaws and hiking here and biking here. Like, I've helped him drop trees, and I can go for hours. And I'm like, I put my health first. And I love cranking. Even though I'm not a hotshot anymore, I still want to see what I still got. And so the point is I'm always teaching him, like, dude, read the labels, bro. Read the labels. And I've helped him by accident. I told him, like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Now, I've been experimenting for 5 years now, carnivore life. And I love it. It's awesome. I don't tell people to do it. People think it's weird. And I'm like, it's really simplified my life. I like it. I'm probably like 85, 90%. I'm not 100%. I still drink coffee. Some people don't like coffee. I'm like, well, after being a hotshot, you drink a lot of coffee. So anyway, hardcore carnivore, you don't do that. Point is, I'm like, please read your labels. He did not realize. He was always like cooking pork and all these things. And I'm like, dude, look at your seasonings. Look at the ingredients. Like, thanks to having people on the show over the years, I tell people, skip the nutritional grid, go right to the paragraph. The ingredient orders based on concentration first, small ingredient last. Like, people didn't know these things. I didn't know until once you learn it, I love passing it on. And he's like, I was like, and you'll find three to four different versions of sugars being snuck in, because then they don't have to put it in the grid, because there's technically different ingredients. Now with all the sugar alcohols and all these inflammatory conditions, all of a sudden his joints stopped hurting. And like, he's retired, he's a mechanic, but he loves like rebuilding people's lawnmowers and teaching them not to go out and have to buy an expensive lawnmower. Like, oh, I'll just fix it.
Very cool.
He's flipping lawnmowers and stuff in his retired years because he wants something to do. He wants to keep his head and his mind moving. Yeah. And he's dropped over 20 pounds by accident in a year. I told him, like, you might want to lay off some of the alcohol a little bit, but that's a whole different story. But I was like, bro, look what you're doing. I told him, like, stop putting all the sugar stuff in your drinks. Like, so now he's just doing like a cranberry club thing with a little bit of vodka, whatever. But so it's just education. Yeah. It's just sharing things. Nobody reads the labels.
And sugar is part of that, but the story on foods and food science has really taken an interesting turn in the last 30 years. So the story used to be, I think when you and I were growing up, we're probably around the same age, you know, too much sugar. The obesity epidemic is because everybody's eating even too much sugar. And
Yeah.
absolutely that has an effect. Has
And
an
back
effect
then
on
we didn't know about seed oils, which we
right,
now know more about,
right.
Yeah.
But what is I think a more important thing is ultra processed foods.
Mm.
And the research is very clear now that 70% of packaged foods in the US diet or in supermarkets are ultra processed foods, and about 60% of calories for in the Americans diet are ultra processed foods. And I barely eat any. So somebody's
I,
eating a
I
lot
literally
more.
barely go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Like my local farm just texted me last night because I literally before this podcast, I sent the screenshot of the cut sheet um, to back to my friends. I split a steer every year. It was the way I was as a kid. It's
Yeah. Those are
local, it's
great. That's a
grass
great way to
fed,
do
no
it.
hormones, no injections.
Yeah.
She's a doesn't drug them, doesn't hormone them. She plants 7 different species of grasses and rotates them throughout the pastures, and she does the whole rolling chicken cart thing. And I love it. She's like, it's a 100-year-old farmstead, and it's cheaper than a store. So it's like I just went back to the way it was as a kid. I'm like, I bought a couple freezers, and I take a half a steer, and I sell the other quarters to my 2 buddies for them and their kids, and we do it every year. It's been a regular thing for 5 6 years now. It's wonderful. It's the way I was as a kid. And so like that. And then my wife, because she's a horse doctor, she goes to farms all the times, and she just brings eggs home this time of year from all the different customers. So I'm like, I don't have to go get eggs. I love it. I'm like, I'm sort of kind of unplugged.
That's
And
great. You're eating a good, healthy, whole foods,
yeah,
diet.
it's like one
Really.
ingredient. Like people are like,
Yeah.
what do you eat? It's like eggs, bacon, steak, butter. What else? Salt, water, toss in a little coffee here and there, maybe some cheese. That's about it. And people are like, don't you get bored? And I'm like, dude, I'm a sales and marketing consultant. I'm a podcaster. I'm an author. I was like, I do a lot of things. I have all the sports. I was like, this just makes my life easy. And I have no drugs, no conditions, no chronic illness, no disease. I'm good. You do you,
You do you. I like that. I like that.
you know? And I learned to read labels. So if I ever experiment with the N1 on supplementation, which is where I'm going with this, now we're seeing it pop up. And again, I know the RFK subject is polarizing for some people, but I don't care. Get people to at least wake up and read a label. So, and understand ultra processed foods. Because again, growing up on the farm, as a kid, I had to manage a 1/4 acre garden. I had a 1/4 acre garden. That's actually a lot for a garden,
Yeah.
for a home garden. My mom did the mason jar canning and the pressure cookers. We would fill the dirt basement in our farmhouse with all that. It sounds like I'm going back to like the 50s, but I'm like, no, we had an old late 1800s farm that we found and had a dirt basement. And I built cinder block wood shelves, and my mom would can like crazy. Like every vegetable we didn't consume was getting canned for the winter. And we had big
Amazing.
freezers. And when the chickens stopped laying, they were harvested and turned into, freezer meat. And it was yeah, I was eating meat and vegetables, and it's all one ingredient foods,
Yeah, it was healthy.
Yeah, not all this crazy stuff that's being. It's I call it Frankensteinian food with really
Yep.
intelligent scientists being paid very, very well by big food to make it so you can't put it down and you can't stop eating it. That's the
Yep.
advantage of ultra processed food. It's addicting because
Yep.
it tastes good.
And it's cheap and it's not nutritious and it's actually kills people.
Not just kills people, it could destroy a child's growth pattern, their ability to mature in a healthy way, to become a strong, healthy, let alone the mental side effects, but just
Yeah,
physically, you're not getting the right nutrition. And
that's true.
the fact that parents argue about that, and I don't get it. I'm like, don't you want the best for your kid?
Yeah, I don't get it either.
Yeah. So that's what goes back to naturopathic medicine and everything. I'm like, how do you get people to read labels? I just tell them, please read the label. Just at least take that step. Like just slow down at the store and just turn it around and just take a quick skim.
Yeah.
Baby steps. Just skim it.
Yeah. Well, when I'm working with patients and helping them transition into a healthier way of eating, I have them focus on just two things, protein and plants. And the Mediterranean dietary pattern
Yep.
is how I eat. It's what there's an incredible amount of research supporting its health benefits, and I've distilled it down into you want to get about that 30 grams of dietary fiber a day, and where that's found in plants, whole foods, and then you've got to have enough protein. And as we get older, the USRDA for protein is insufficient to maintain healthy muscle and healthy bone. There are 180 to 200 proteins in bone alone. In addition to collagen, it's an incredibly protein dependent tissue. And so, if I have people take their body weight and multiply it in pounds and multiply it by 0.6, and that's the number of
Oh, you got some
grams.
math on it. Okay, there we go. Yeah.
That's the number of grams minimum of protein that people should be consuming every day.
Well, because people forget about the amino acid profile. Like your body converts the protein into the necessary amino acids that we need for the building blocks. So that's where
that's the raw materials. All food is the raw materials for our biochemistry. It's how our biochemistry functions. Biochemistry, and people get whole PhDs in biochemistry, but very simply, it's how the body uses, amino acids, fats, vitamins, and minerals to do its job, and how things like nutritional deficiencies, environmental toxins, infections, allergies interfere with that proper functioning and cause disease. And can we identify where those deficiencies are to supplement people, build them back up? Because it's like a gas tank in a car. If you're out of gas and you put the gas in, the car is going to just start running right. If you're low in a nutrient, which is the gas for the biochemistry and for your health, and we supplement with that, we give the right dose and the right form for you to absorb and use, you're just going to start feeling better, while then working with patients to improve their diet. So long-term, they can maintain hopefully those benefits primarily through diet and lifestyle.
Well, and then we take that leap into the supplemental sector, because sometimes that fuel in the gas can is not the best quality, right? So if you put a bad gas in the tank, the engine's going to run like crap. Literally, that's what my neighbor, like half the stuff he does, he goes, people were buying, because in the lawnmower world, if you just buy traditional modern day gas, we mix ethanol into it. Well, people don't realize if you let that sit in a small engine, it starts eating away at things, and it doesn't have a good shelf life. So he goes, all I do is drain the fuel tanks, change the filters, clean the lines out, and put in non-ethanol fuel in your lawnmower, and all of a sudden it works again. It's like,
because people see him as a genius.
Because people let the old fuel sit there and not use it, and then they weren't like keeping an eye on it, and they let their system go, right? It's an interesting connotation and connection on that. But then back to your point on not just the quality of the fuel, but the consistency of the fuel. You have to fuel the engine. But then we also know that obviously our foods, depending on how you're sourcing it, might not have the same nutritional integrity that they used to have. Right? Yep. Thanks to, we got to ship in that vegetable from Guatemala now. Well, we have the evidence proving that the nutrient density of that produce or fruit or whatever degrades throughout the shipping cycle. So it's like, if you can't source locally, so then the trigger is supplementation, right? Yeah. We didn't create, what year was it? Exogenous supplementation was early 1900s. I forget the exact year. Point is, we can do it. We have the science, and that's the beauty of supplementation. Okay. If you can afford it, great way to fill in those missing building blocks, but there's good supplementation and bad supplementation.
And there's bad ones. Yeah.
And that's where you're at. So I wanted to get into this. So
in the world of nutritional medicine, it's basically pharmacology for natural products. And just like in pharmacology, we're looking at drugs, there's the concept of bioavailability. What can your body absorb? And then what does it do biochemically in the body? How does the body eliminate it? Does it store it? Does it eliminate it? And what effects does it have then, clinically? And what toxicities potentially, are there nutrients that can be dangerous as well? So there are some nutrients you just got to be a little cautious of. But when I teach people to read dietary supplement labels, for example, a multivitamin, it's very simple. I just have them look at the 3 ingredients. Just look at the minerals and look at magnesium, copper, and zinc. And if any of them say oxide, because by law, they have to put the form of the mineral. So minerals are never just by themselves. they have to have a carrier attached to something to carry them into the body.
Mhm.
And so you'll see magnesium, for example, is magnesium oxide, magnesium citrate, malate, amino acid chelate. Those are all different forms that the raw material comes in.
Yep.
But a lot of people, a lot of supplement companies will use magnesium oxide because it's really cheap and it's small. As a molecularly, as the molecule size goes, magnesium oxide is relatively small. So you can get more into you can say I've got 100 milligrams of magnesium oxide.
Nice. Yeah.
But here's the rub. Your body can only absorb about 2 to 4% of that, any mineral that's in the oxide form. And
So
so
it's like, and I'll say the brand. You don't have to. I am anti-Centrum. Oh my God. Once I saw that
yeah,
piece of crap, and I used to take it a long time ago. I didn't know. I was like, oh, that's got everything I need. I'll take, I think it was an orange pill back in the day. And I'm like, and then you talk to intelligent people about how you build a vitamin and a supplement and how mass production, like companies choosing to create vitamins and supplements, the facilities are all different. So if you're going mass production, you're usually going to shave some of that quality, unless it's part of your mission statement and you care about how it's being made, what's going into it. Like I learned
yeah,
all about like cellulose, like they're dumping cellulose into the stainless steel lines so it can expedite the process and get the product through faster, and then that can pass through the cell membrane barrier. I'm like, what? I'm like, well, yeah, picture like microlyzed sawdust. I'm like, oh, that sounds great.
yeah.
Let
Or they'll
alone
use
the oxides.
or
So
titanium dioxide is used as to help the thing machinery run
yeah.
smoother. I don't use that in any of my products. I'll use leucine. L-leucine is
Yep.
what I'll
I was
use.
gonna say I've heard good things about that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it works. It gives somebody a little bit more nutrition, not toxic, and it's not titanium dioxide or cellulose or
Yeah.
any of that other
But I
crap.
love how you hit on the carrier, right? So I learned that from my buddy Vinny. He created, because he had an issue, I forget the condition, where if you eat, let's say, red meat, B12 is guaranteed there. But there's a condition. Some people cannot process the B12 in the gut.
Yeah,
So then,
it's called an MTHFR polymorphism. Your body can't. So vitamin B12 and folic acid in our bodies is only utilized when it's in its methylated form, methylcobalamin or methyl
methylcobalamin, right?
B12
So
or
that's what he created.
methylfolate.
He's like, all
Right.
right, but then he didn't want to have sugar, right? And he didn't want to have anything else. So he goes, so he figured out to have calcium as the carrier. So, which like there's a few other companies who have figured that out, but so he made
Mm-hmm.
sure that it's and he did it sublingually to help get it absorbing sooner rather than later. I'm like, oh, because he needed to do that for him. So he's like, well, there's got to be other people out there. So he just added it into it. That's what made him one of the things, reason why to create like a small little vitamin company, because you see a problem. This is the definition of
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, ladies and gentlemen. If you see a problem and you can find a way to do it better, maybe there's a business there. And yes, it's okay to get paid if you're helping
Well,
people.
and that's exactly why I started NBI. So next year will be 20 years, almost 20
20
years
years
ago.
now. Nice.
Yeah, I was in clinical practice and I was trying to help my patients. And I'm very familiar and I love research. And so I'm looking at clinical trials on with nutritional medicine and what works to help people. And I could not find the doses of nutrients shown in clinical trials to work in existing products. So I created NBI to create the solutions that I needed for my patients. And oftentimes
Was
it's
that
a
when
real
you're up in
first.
Montana?
Yeah, that's when I'm in Montana. Yeah, to
Yeah,
my clinic
Bozeman.
in
Yeah.
Montana. Yeah, and that's when look, I was frustrated, and it still is a pet peeve of mine because you have a lot of companies out there that will cite research and behind their product and their formula, but then they'll use the dose of the nutrient that's lower than what's ever been shown in a clinical trial to work. So they're giving subclinical doses to people, and the general public really is unaware.
And then you're
Uh,
thinking that's your quote unquote daily dose. And then
yeah,
if you do your own homework and you realize that's not enough, now you got to use more of the supplement, which now it's costing you more money because they didn't formulate it into a proper standardized dose.
that's correct. That's correct. Or they'll cite a study. I've seen this and use a totally different nutrient,
Huh?
which is frustrating as well. And another example I had was with in bone health and osteoporosis. I was working with patients, and I learned of a nutrient, a specific form of vitamin K2 called MK4 in the dose of 45 milligrams per day, which is a very high dose for vitamin K, or is considered high dose.
Yeah.
It's been approved in Japan since 1995 for bone health and by the Ministry of Health in Japan.
Is that because I've tried Vinny made one. I used to do a D3 and he added in K1, K2 as a combo. Is that the same K or a different K?
So K is a category of different molecules. K1
Okay.
is its own thing. Phyloquinone, it's found in green leafy vegetables. K2 is its own category as well. There are subtypes of K2. The one that you had, I'm almost 100% certain, had the MK7 form of vitamin K2.
Okay.
I only use the MK4 form of vitamin K2 for a couple of reasons I'll tell you. But even now, I'm the only company in the country that has the clinical trial dose of MK4, 45 milligrams per day with D3 in the product.
Okay, so you're also doing a blending. Cool.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
And
That's
then
what I
I've
was saying.
got,
I didn't realize there was so much. I mean, I know K is good, but you don't realize there's all these different Ks, you know?
correct. It's
Yeah.
like vitamin E is a category. There are different types of vitamin E as well.
Yeah.
So, but with the K2, specifically for bone health, this is another pet peeve of mine with the industry. Well, back to the MK4. So I was, 20 years ago, I was aware of this research. Nothing existed in the clinical trial dose of MK4. So I created, my OsteoK line of products. But why? Why did I decide to do that? Well, because that form of vitamin K2 and vitamin K in general is the only form and the only dose shown not only to improve bone density, support healthy bones, but also maintain bone strength. The best indicator of bone strength is whether or not somebody breaks a bone. And that's the most dangerous thing with low bone density, is that bones are getting weaker. It's not the number on a test that's the most dangerous thing. It's whether or not somebody breaks a bone. Yeah. MK4, 45 milligrams per day, is the only form of vitamin K2 and the only dose shown to reduce fractures by over 70%, in fact.
Oh, wow.
MK7, which is more popular, and you see supplement companies out there heavily marketing their products and that nutrient, saying, well, it changes a molecular marker or it's more bioavailable.
Oh, yeah, that's a big thing now. Everybody's about bioavailable. That's been, as a marketing guy, I'm like, okay, that buzzword's really taken off.
Yeah. So what does that mean? It means you can absorb it better. And that's true. MK7 is more bioavailable than MK4, but that doesn't mean that it works better in your body.
Well, I was going to say, does that guarantee a utilization?
No, not at all. Okay. Not at all. So MK7 and MK4 are both forms of vitamin K2, but they're different molecules. So, as we know in biochemistry, if you change just one carbon atom or one atom on a molecule, you can get overlapping, but you also get very different effects. So I already mentioned MK4 has been shown to stop and reverse bone loss and maintain bone strength. MK7 in all doses tested has never been shown to stop bone loss or reverse it, only slow down how fast somebody loses bone. And in fact, one study, they lost bone faster.
And you said this has actually been clinically trialed?
MK7, yeah, there are clinical trials on it.
Okay.
Yep, multiple.
Because nowadays, unless you hear of that, everything else is kind of fluff, it seems. Like you have to find that clinical trial documentation to make it.
But why is it that none of the manufacturers and marketers of MK7 are telling you that it will improve bone density? Because it doesn't. There are clinical trials.
So they can't say that.
They published clinical trials, and it actually doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it's never been shown to reduce fractures.
So to stay legal, they can't say that.
No, they can say it changes a blood marker or it helps support bone health because it changes that.
So now you're just blowing smoke, because as a consumer, I want to see what it does to make me want to buy it and trust it. But if you're kind of dancing around it, well, that's the frustration of my labeling. So I tell people, have you reread the label a couple of times and truly tried to comprehend what they're trying to say on there? That's I'm probably a baby step of frustration at your level of frustration, but it's like,
what I like to try and do is help educate people on how to ask better questions, because if we ask better questions, we're going to get better answers. Okay. And so that bioavailability is something more bioavailable is one question, but I like to try and help people understand, how can you think more clinically in terms of clinical outcomes? Because again, that number on the test is not ultimately the most dangerous thing. It's whether or not you break a bone, or if you're talking about you want to take a supplement for cardiovascular health. Well, are there clinical trials showing that it reduces that it actually prevents heart attacks? And we can't say that as a dietary supplement because it's not FDA approved, but there are clinical trials that do look at those questions. So I'm not saying has a supplement as a, is somebody marketing it for that, but are there clinical trials showing that the most dangerous thing, that the risk that we're trying to help people with, has actually been studied and it's been shown to be helpful for?
Yeah. Well, because that's where a lot of things, like even my own parents, and I'll come visit and I see bottles all over the place. And I'm like, do you even know if all of that is working? Like they've never done advanced blood panel. They've never done genetic research on their DNA to see my very first one, Dr. Anthony J is I guess you wouldn't consider him a geneticist, but anyway, he wrote the book, Estrogeneration, Study on Plastics, Impacts of Body Hormone Impacts, Everything Else of Plastics, boy before microplastics went viral. And anyway, he's like, yeah, but that's one of his businesses. He's like, hey, send me this, that, and the other thing, and I'll do a full genetic analysis on you. I'm like, well, what's the result? He's like, I'm going to spit out a report that aligns the vitamin, mineral, and chemicals to either embrace or avoid based on your genetic profile. Now he's like, now some of these markers could be active or not. He's like, we're gonna go over all that. And I released that on the podcast years ago. He's like, well, you want to do a podcast? I'm like, yeah, I have nothing to hide. Let's share this. Like, I geeked out because that's how I found out about. Apparently, I have a marker saying that I can metabolize caffeine twice as fast as other human beings. Maybe that's why I love coffee. I don't know, but that's how I found about, the impacts of glutathione. I'm like, well, if I'm going to spend the money, I'd rather fulfill a possible, weakness or hindrance with the right supplement. So I know that I'm truly investing in myself the right way and not just putting stuff in the body that could cause other side effects, other issues, or I'm just peeing out, which is the syndrome world. Like you're just peeing out garbage that your body couldn't even process.
What you're talking about is fascinating to me because it's kind of it is the intersection of the limits of the science that we understand and the excitement and desire of consumers to be proactive and do what they think, and clinicians recommend what they think might help.
Yeah.
But here's the reality with that approach. Just because you have a genetic predisposition for something, I think you even mentioned, doesn't mean it's necessarily active and affecting you.
Right, exactly.
And the next question that I have is, okay, for that genetic abnormality or polymorphism, has it been shown that then you give the supplement and again, what's the outcome? That it actually prevents or improves a health outcome, meaning it prevents heart attacks or whatever the risk with that is. And that's where we're at the limits right now of the genetics.
And that's for me. Like I know one of the little things with glutathione is I noticed and maybe it's just me thinking it working, but I felt like stress was different and there's a healing component. I don't know, but I believed in it. So I was
but I think that's a great example.
I'm paying attention to before and afters of my body, my conditioning.
Yeah, there are certain nutrients and certain things. Like if you are reducing the free radical generation and inflammatory load in your body by taking glutathione, that can give demonstrable results, meaning you feel a difference.
Yes.
Many nutrients that people will take, they're not going to feel any different necessarily.
Because I'm guilty of being a hard charger. So I feel like if anybody's going to be able to pick up on whether or not I'm actually helping managing that stress offload, I'm that guy. So that's why I was like, okay, if I was taking at least one supplement, and I do believe in vitamin C, by the way, as well. I mean, hands down. I was doing a lot of stuff during COVID and everything else that whether people wanted to agree with or not, I'm like, oh, I'm going to double down. I'm a health nut.
I'm a big fan of vitamin C. Right? When you're sick, the amount of vitamin C your intestines you can absorb actually goes up.
Oh yeah.
So I like to tell people to do vitamin C to bowel tolerance.
Yeah. Because I was doing a 2,000 average, I think. Yeah.
I go up, I tell them to go like
more.
When they're sick, when somebody's sick, you do a 1,000 milligrams every couple hours. And if that still doesn't give you diarrhea, go to 2,000 every couple hours. And then,
well, when I was firefighting, Emergency is one of the companies, but I would buy powder packets because we had like tons of water. We're hiking and you're doing this in Arizona, Nevada. And I knew that I was just ripping through electrolytes and everything else, but the fire camps, they give you cases of Gato, aka Gatorade, which is garbage, and
Yeah.
water, but it's better than nothing. So then I went to the supplement store, and again, the only thing I had access to was GNC back then. And I forget the brand; it was an emergency, but I was like, I looked for a high dose of vitamin C and something else in there, and I'll leave it in my Nomex yellow fire resistant shirt. So I'm hiking, and I grab my Camelback tube, and I would sit there and just tear it up with my teeth, dump the powder right into my mouth in mid hike, and just suck water in it. And I would shake my head back and forth and mix it up and just chug it down. I was never cramping. I was never the sick guy on the crew. And I was like,
I
I
believe
was
it.
just trying to stay ahead of the curve, man. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
Look, there are great reasons to take dietary supplements.
yeah.
And if somebody's under high levels of stress, like you were at the time, and athletes, I mean, there's lots of great reasons to take dietary supplements.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're one of the part of the challenge is that you've got so much hype around dietary supplements that a lot of these things that I think it's a lot that people are taking don't have the science behind them, or people are just looking for this quick fix,
The
and
quick
they're not sure if
fix.
it's working or not.
Yeah. And that's why I was digging through your company and what you guys have done. And it's like, I get excited when I see people, okay, I'm not just trying to push a product. Can I provide the education? I would, as a sales and marketing guy, I tell people, like, yeah, I could sell you anything and I can market anything, but I feel better and more ethical if I could teach you something along that journey. Like if you come out a
I
more
love that. Yeah.
informed consumer, and back to my point earlier in the show, right? We were talking about being accountable for our health. You should be getting educated along that journey. So you're not just, oh, I'll just trust that pill or that supplement or that powder. Like, no, 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 no. I want you to know more. So you're more informed as you get older and you can keep growing with the
Yeah.
process, you know?
Here's one thing that I like to tell people too. If you want to identify what a really high quality dietary supplement company is, besides looking at the formula and looking for those oxide form of those minerals, ask the company to give you their certificate of analysis on the manufacturing lot.
Hmm.
Every company has to produce a COA. It's required by the FDA. But the
Oh,
FDA,
the FDA, it did do something. Oh, okay.
oh yeah, so the FDA regulates dietary supplement manufacturing. And so it is required to have a certificate analysis where you're identifying the ingredients. So it has to be the identity of the nutrients.
Is that the same thing as certified third-party testing, or no? That's a different category.
So there's an overlap.
Okay.
So there is a certified third party testing. There are third party companies like NSF
Yeah.
and others that
NSF
will
certified. Yep.
yeah, that'll do GMP certifications of the manufacturing process.
Okay.
And that's one thing. Like the manufacturer that I use has all those certifications, is actually certified for Health Canada, which is even stricter manufacturing requirements than US.
Cool.
But a certificate of analysis is specifically for a finished product. So, for example, for every finished product that we manufacture, whether it's my Supreme multivitamin, one of my Osteo K, formulas, there is a certificate of analysis that we get that corresponds. The lot number on the bottle corresponds to the lot number that's on the report that we get. And on the report, it has each nutrient has been tested and shown to be in the product in the dose. Now there's always a range because nothing is down to like the microgram,
Sure.
within a range of nutrient concentration in the product. Then they're tested before we even release a product for sale. It's isolated. It's set aside, and the products are taken off the line, and they're sent for microbiology testing as well. And
Cool.
they're plated and they're grown to make sure that there are no spores or bacterial or fungal toxins in the product, in the finished product. And then we actually pay extra. It's not required by the FDA, where we test for heavy metals. Now, all the raw materials
Even
are tested.
better. Thank you.
Yeah, all the raw materials are tested for toxic metals and microbiology, and then they're isolated. But we test it in our finished product as well. And then a certificate of analysis is provided. Now,
Yeah.
a
I've
lot
been
of
screen
companies,
sharing for listeners watching. Obviously, everything
yeah, I
goes
see
on
that.
YouTube too. And I'm like, I'm on the, since you mentioned osteo, I'm like, yeah, let's do some labels. I'll look at the label. I like
I love it.
labels.
I love it.
So,
Yeah, and that's so we have three versions of that product. That's each have the highest dose of MK4 available, 45 milligrams per day with 2,000 IUs of vitamin D3. The dose shown in clinical trials to work, and then different amounts of calcium because not everybody needs the same amount of calcium in a dietary supplement, and a lot of people don't even need calcium as a dietary supplement. So that's got the full dose of calcium, 1,000 milligrams per day. You take 2 servings a day. Osteo K Minis, which is I think a better formula for most women. It has less calcium. It has 400 milligrams per day. Right next to that, and then the Osteo MK4 has no calcium, just the MK4 and vitamin D3 for people who
gotcha.
don't need extra calcium. All
So that's what
guaranteed.
MK4 stands for. What? Okay.
Menaquinone 4 or
Metaquinone. Okay.
metatetronine.
Yeah.
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 And I actually
There's,
own the
there's your,
trademark.
there's your leucine I see in there. So,
Yeah. And I actually own the trademark in my company for MK4.
no, yeah. Well, you said you
Yeah.
were the only one in North America, right?
Well, I was the first one to use it in the clinical trial dose,
Ah, okay.
and still the only one with the combination with the vitamin D3 that has the synergistic effect. So D3 and MK4, when they're combined, improve bone density greater than MK4 alone. And the MK4 again has been shown to maintain strong bones, so much so that in fact we have a guarantee now. It's called the Strong Bones Guarantee, and that's another thing. Look at a company's guarantee. Are they really standing behind their products? We guarantee that any of our 3 products will stabilize or improve bone density within 6 months. But more importantly, they'll maintain strong bones,
That's,
meaning if somebody breaks a bone, we'll refund their money for all qualifying purchases between their bone density tests.
there you go, right there. Again, you're putting it all out there. All right. That's,
Because we got the science behind it.
yeah.
The
If you
third
have the
party clinical
science, it's
trials.
hard. Well, you don't have to hide. Like you
Nope.
could put it all out there. God forbid. Like, wow, look at that. Oh, I did some science. I guess I got to put it all out there. Darn. Like this is refreshing. So,
Oh, thanks. I'm
well,
very
because
proud of it. It's been a labor of love. It's been a,
you said it's 20 years, right? You know,
yep.
it's only 20 years. It's fine. You know, because that's what people don't realize too, is that again, right here, this is what I want to see. You have clinical trials documented in here so people could look it up, right? They can do the research if they wanted to, because there are people like me who geek out and I mean, nowadays there is no excuse from a digital footprint, right? So if you provide the data and help people go look for it, that's refreshing. Like not everybody cares. They might see all this. It might be more than enough, but
Yep.
there's people like me. I like being an informed consumer. I like geeking out. I'm like, I never saw this before. I want to know more about this. I'm that rabbit hole guy, you know?
Yep.
So, because I take my health very seriously. I make fun of the corporate world, but I've used this quote many times. I tell people, I'm like, there was an old mission statement. I think it was in the T-Mobile world. And they said, we are all personally and collectively accountable for our results. Well, I still use that because I said it earlier today or on the show. I'm like, I want to be accountable for my health. So then if each of us did that more, then we collectively are bringing about better results in society because we're all taking accountability for it, not just trying to pass the buck.
Well, and that goes back to your comment earlier about, selfish has, I think, some negative connotations to it.
Yeah.
And I don't, being selfish in the sense of you're going to take care of your health and model that behavior and be the best that you can be. It doesn't mean you're, egotistical and don't think about anybody else or just an asshole.
Yeah.
You're just making sure that you can function and be the best person that you can be in this life.
I've struggled with it. It's taken me years to get that point of comfort because I realized like, wait a minute, I got to get myself financially together because I was trying to always like donate to charities and stuff along the journey. This is before I wrote the book and then started my own charity that benefits from the book because I wanted to know for sure that 100% of the book goes to charity. Like people are like, you wrote a book for charity? And I'm like, yeah, I like to do things different. Sorry, I'm weird. I was like, I like working for my money and then doing cool things with it. Like that's fun to me. So, but I realized, okay, I need to like double down, wipe out debt, like dial your life in, then grow the brands, grow your clients, grow the businesses. And then it's like, okay, now you have, I wouldn't call it a windfall, right? You start seeing things, that positive trajectory. Okay, now I can start, let's get that book written. Let's get that charity launched. Like now, actually, as of September this year, now things are on autopilot a little bit and cranking. I launched my boots refuel fund. So now I'm buying boots for wildland firefighters with not just the book's not killing it, but I put 5% of my own company income into the charity. So even if it doesn't go viral, I'm funding it. So I'm buying boots almost every single month now for people who submit into my application process. And
Amazing.
I mean, people forget, like when I bought my boots in 2010 or 2009 to get ready for firefighting, back then they were $450, $500 boots. Those
Wow.
aren't paid for by the government. You have to buy that. So if you're a rookie and you
Yeah.
have no money, that sucks. Like I just helped a guy. This guy living in California went through a breakup or a divorce. He emailed me. He's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you picked my name. Thank you so much. I'm living out of my car right now." And I'm like,
Jeez.
"What?" He goes, "You just made my day because I'm also going to the academy." So he's like living out of his car, so committed to become a firefighter that he's like going to classes and finishing his certifications because he's trying to get on a fire crew to build a new phase of his life. And I got to buy him a pair of boots. I'm
Amazing.
pumped.
What do the boots run now?
What I pay retail for a
Yeah, retail.
proper wildland firefighting high quality boot that's rebuildable. That's the only thing I'm going to buy. Um, I'm basically spending between 500 to 600 at my. These companies give me like a wholesale
Yeah.
rate.
What would it be retail?
Anywhere from 600 to 800 depending on the model you buy.
Wow.
So if you're a
Yeah.
rookie
They don't
coming
have
out
a
of high
G.
school, right, and you want to become a
Right.
wildland firefighter, now the average guy's a problem though. People can get away, like they're letting it slide, and you just go buy a basic pair of Danner's boots or whatever, and within 1 year, if you're on a hardcore crew, like the boots are falling apart, and they're not properly fire rated. I mean, they're basically solid leather boots, so they can't burn with a massive logger heel on it. And after my rookie year, I wore 60% of the tread off of my boots because we hiked so much and we had such
Wow.
treacherous terrain. You need a hardcore boot. That's all I'm going to buy. Because like I had guys apply for rebuilds because I fund rebuilds too, and people who submitted it, they weren't rebuildable boots. They weren't from the higher level tier that I'm buying. So I just went ahead and upgraded them to a full pair of boots. So I'm like, dude, I can't
Nice.
even rebuild that. That company doesn't rebuild. Let me take it to another level. And I'm loving it. But it's like
Yeah.
that. But back to that point on selfishness, right? It's like, okay, it hurt me to kind of slow down at first. But I'm like, no, if I got to do this at a much better level, I've got to, like you, man, I got to spend money on the research. We got to get the clinical trials done. We got to do the studies because in 20 years,
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to stand my company apart from the rest. And
Yeah.
that's where like that little business component's coming in towards the end of the show, where it's like hard work brings about longevity of results. If
Yeah.
you try and go for the flash in the pan, wham, bam, thank you, man, quick win, lying to people just to get the sale, that's not how I roll. I don't like it.
Yeah.
it
Well, and
it's
in fact,
dirty.
Jim Collins, who wrote the book From Good to Great, he
Great
was
book.
a great book, right? You know it. So they
Oh,
looked
yeah.
at these public companies because that's what had the most available publicly available data, and which ones, I don't know what the multiple was, 5x or whatever it was, beat the within their industry sector, beat other companies in terms of their stocks and their valuations. And what they found, and they looked at what are the components within that company that made them successful compared to the other companies they looked at. And one of the things that stood out with leadership was the companies that had the flashy CEO that was always, out there, me. They weren't the ones that were thriving. It was the ones who had that, more kind of quiet, sincere CEO that was able to look in the mirror and say, the buck stops here, and problems were my fault. This problem was my fault, but it was also giving the credit for the good work to everybody else.
Yeah.
Those were the ones. That was one of the really important variables they found. And
True
look, for
leadership.
true
Yeah.
leadership for my company. Just back briefly to what you were saying, because I love what you're doing with yours. The success of my company has allowed me to do things that I never thought I'd be able to do. And one of those is I closed my clinical practice years ago, but now I do all free pro bono consulting with patients.
Awesome.
So as people reach out and they need it, I'll put aside a half hour here and there. I'll
So you
review
do get to
labs.
still practice for fun now.
That's right. I don't take money for it. I
That's
tell them
awesome.
what they may be missing for labs. Go talk to their doctor, ask these questions, and I will talk to them about diet and supplementation. But I'm able to do that without charging. Or a woman today reached out to me. She has a rare genetic condition that does affect the bones. And she was asking me for some help on that, and if my products might be able to help. And so I was, evaluating it with her. And I was like, look, there's some supplements that I think will help, and she's not in a great financial situation. I said, I'm happy to just give you, product for a year. So you can see if this works, and let's see if this drives the needle, and we'll do testing throughout the year and check it out.
It's
So,
nice to have the freedom to do that. Like you can't do it all the time. Like, you
no,
are a business, but
yeah,
when you have the right case and the right example, it's like, man, if I could step up, and that's that point of that long curve, right? It's like I got to make sure I'm building something from a sustainable standpoint for longevity. So then I could maybe do that a little bit more if I wanted to, or have the ability to do that more. Like you said, still be able to do some practicing
well,
pro
and
bono.
circling it back
Yeah.
to the health conversation, I think it's a similar thing. I want to build my health for longevity.
Yeah.
Just following the latest fad or trying to get short-term results by starving, going on a starvation diet or restricting calories, that's not building for longevity.
No.
That's not building for the long haul.
That's why I tell people I think that, well, there's already a couple of very well known bad four letter words, right? But I was like, I can't stand diet because I'm a psychology buff. Diet to me is a bad four letter word because it signifies and has been symbolized thanks to marketing and magazine life and everything else as it's a short term mindset. You need to be
Yeah.
finding what is a lifestyle, what is a sustainable lifestyle. That it's not just this month or this quarter or this 6 months or maybe for the next year. Like, no, dude, like once you figure it out, it's a lifestyle. It's sustainable. You can keep it going the rest of your life. And if you get off all the pharmaceuticals, you get off all the drugs, you get your weight back to a proper, sustainable lifestyle. You have no conditions. You heal yourself. That's exciting. That's sustainable. That's longevity. I love it.
Absolutely. And when you find the right process, the results take care of themselves.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Well, listen, man, I knew we were gonna have some fun tonight.
That
So
was fun.
I hope you did. So
I had a blast. Yeah.
you've given me over an hour, so thank you for all this time. But I will ask one more thing of you. I always have my guest co-hosts help close out the show. So for a long time, it was final words, just so, in case they forgot everything else we talked about. But then, thanks to the charity life and understanding it's okay to get a little selfish, but to build something bigger, I realized I started geeking out about legacy. And I feel like you've already reached some of that because, like, man, I could start helping people pro bono. That's cool. I've got a pretty sustainable business. I don't have to run a practice. I'm helping others thanks to supplementation, the right supplementation. So throughout all that, has there always been like an all-encompassing thing that, or has it morphed and grown? And is there a new type of thing that you would call, I don't know, a legacy message you're trying to leave behind, that footprint that we may leave behind in this world if we're gone tomorrow? I mean, is there anything
Yeah.
kind of standing out to you or something you already live and breathe by?
The reason I started, aside from getting frustrated by not having the supplements that I needed for my patients, where I started focusing on bone health and osteoporosis, is because my mother-in-law at the time had osteoporosis and she was on Fosamax. I thought I was doing a good job with her and my patients. I was, helping her with some dietary supplements and nutrition and exercise advice. And her doctor had her on Fosamax, her physician. Her bone density was going up. So she was happy. Her physician was happy. I was happy. My patient's bone density was going up. So I was happy. Then my mother-in-law fell, tripped on a throw rug, and broke her hip. And I thought to myself, something is wrong with this picture. So I started diving into the research on osteoporosis and bone health. And I was shocked by what I found, that a bone density test only predicts 44% of women with osteoporosis who fracture and only 21% of men. And yet that number on that test is almost exclusively what's treated and tracked conventionally. And in fact, when it comes to the osteoporosis medications, the change in bone density is not even an indicator that that medication is reducing their fracture risk. That's well documented in the clinical trials. And so my passion for continuing to research on osteoporosis and bone health, lecture at medical conferences, write my book, create products to help people support their bone health and their physiology in that way. If I can have an overarching legacy when I'm gone, my hope is that it will move the needle nationally in terms of how clinically doctors approach this condition, and the entire focus of it changes from just being addressing a number on a test to what can we do to reduce people's fracture risk, because that's the most dangerous thing with this condition. And fracture risk depends mostly on factors other than bone density.
Wow. That's eye-opening. Well, thank you. Because that's, yeah, you just taught me. I mean, I kind of knew a little bit about that, but you just kind of locked it all in for me. That pretty much confirmed what I thought. And when it hits close to home in your family, that if that's not reason enough, that's pretty powerful. So thank you for taking that mission and obviously expanding upon it and helping impact others. Obviously, fracture proof your bones. Again, ladies and gentlemen, all this will be posted in the show notes. So listen, hang tight. I want to give you a proper goodbye off the air. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Neustadt gave us we're approaching 90 minutes tonight recorded. He and I wrapped for a little bit before we even got the show. Sorry. So we've taken too much of his time as it is. He's been so graceful to give us this much time tonight. Thank you again for the knowledge, the sharing, the stories. So again, ladies and gentlemen, check out nbihealth.com. Check out Fracture Proof Your Bones. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to fuel your health, your business, and your lifestyle. John helped us do that today. So please take that seriously. Please check him out. And remember, you too can live the fuel. We'll talk to you guys again soon.